Microphones. Welcome to the Town Board Workshop on March 1st, 2018. Please rise and salute the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Emergency exits are to my right, the door near the town clerk and also the door you came in. Roll, please.
Councilwoman Samoji? Here. Councilman Gutierrez?
Here.
Councilwoman Doyle? Here. And Supervisor Perotti?
Here.
And let the record reflect that Councilman Morris is absent.
Maria Grace, grant award for the watershed management plan. Could you come up to the microphone?
She's on the schedules first. I have a couple handouts for you. Thank you for inviting me here tonight. I just wanted to review the grant that the Housatonic Valley Association wrote in support of the 10 Mile River Collaborative to fund the beginning of a watershed management plan for the 10 Mile River. So HVA received funding from NIFWIF Long Island Sound Futures Fund to begin the process of developing a watershed management plan. Amenia will be instrumental in the creation of this plan over the next 2 years or so, just because most of Amenia is in the 10 Mile River watershed, your critical piece. So the handout that I gave you just kind of gives you a little bit of a skeleton of sort of the process that we're going to be doing over the next year and a half. So first objective is sort of engaging all the stakeholders in the planning process, and we've already done that. The 10 Mile River Collaborative's been actively working over the last couple of years with all of the municipalities and key county and regional governments and nonprofit organizations to really work together, developing and prioritizing, planning projects. So the next objective is we're really going to be creating an existing conditions report. So we're going to be inventorying all the research that's already taken place in the 10 Mile River watershed, and we're also going to be creating and collecting a whole lot more data. So we're gearing up right now to begin a comprehensive monitoring program in the 10 Mile. So we'll be collecting chemical data, biological data. We'll be doing a stream walk on key pieces throughout the watershed, looking for potential problems, potential issues that we can resolve through the planning process. So that inventory of all that document is going to take place throughout the spring and the summer and into the fall. This time next year, we'll be compiling all of that information together into a draft existing conditions report, and that's when we're going to come and present it to all the key stakeholders, and we're going to be hopefully refining that. And at some point, that will become a final document that we can present to all of the stakeholders so that we can begin an implementation strategy. So we can come to the town, seek your input, talk to you about some of the issues that we're finding, some of the successes and challenges, and work with the town to really start prioritizing key issues that we need to address throughout, not only in Amenia, but throughout the whole watershed. So we can all work collaboratively to seek funding, to seek strategies for us to address sort of natural resource management and conservation projects that sort of really transcends town and even state boundaries, since a lot of the 10 Mile River watershed is in Sharon and Salisbury as well.
I'm sorry, Maria, did you say that was there a timeline for that report to be completed?
We're hoping that the existing conditions report, it'll take about a year. So we're gearing up right now to really start the monitoring. So data collecting will start hopefully in April and May, continue throughout the summer, as well as we're also going to be inventorying all the existing data that's out there as well. So hopefully a year from now, we'll have a draft existing conditions report that we can then present to you and all the other towns in the area to get your input, to get revisions, and then it will become a final document that we can then use to create implementation strategies. So we're going to be seeking input from Amenia in order to find out what data is actually existing right now. I know that Dave Reagan and I have been in touch to get a lot of the data that's already been collected in the town, and to sort of work collaboratively to ensure that historical data is also also incorporated into that planning document. So, are there any other questions or anything? So yeah.
I just was going to insert when you were talking about the existing conditions report and looking at the issues, but we're also looking for opportunities, recreational.
Absolutely.
Okay, so fishing access and that kind of thing, trying to utilize. And also I would stress, as I understood at our last meeting, that you get landowners' permission, as we've had in the past, and we at our last DAC meeting, which I'll report on later, did go over the existing reports and the work that's been done, over the years since 2002, as far as we could. I think that's when I started. So
yeah.
That was my only comment, is that recreation was also a part
It's a
of it.
high priority, and the Long Island Sound Futures Fund grant funding is really focused on nutrient pollution and reducing the amount of nitrogen pollution going into Long Island Sound. So they're really concerned with non-point source pollution. We're seeking other funding as well to continue the process, and economics, recreation, habitat protection, and management are also really strong priorities for the 10 Mile River Collaborative. So we're really seeking all of recreational opportunities, everything that we could possibly think of that's going to improve the watershed for both wildlife as well as for humans as well. So climate resiliency, flooding, abatement, all of those issues are going to be key in the watershed management planning process.
So what is the next step?
So we are going to have a big stakeholder meeting at the end of April, and I would like to invite all of you to attend. It's going to be really a working meeting to get all of the key stakeholders involved, really a kickoff meeting to learn more about the planning process, and to find out what your key issues are that you want us to focus on in your town as we move forward. So that meeting, the date hasn't been determined yet, but it'll probably be, I'm hoping that it will be the last Saturday in April, which would be April 28th. And we would like to get as much town participation as possible. So as many of you that can attend that meeting, it would be great. And then we'll be working closely with your CAC to really gather that information and to seek your assistance as we develop that existing conditions report over the next year or so.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for the information and the update.
Sure.
Is there any public comment?
Mr. Robert?
I don't know if anybody bought the Poughkeepsie Journal today. My name's Anthony Robert. I run the barber shop, so a lot of this conversation takes place in there, sort of the gossip center or whatever you want. But today's headlines were Marilano urges public involvement in policy. So here I am tonight. He wants policy. One of my big concerns is the reason I feel, and the talk in general where we are, the reason we're not getting people to run for these positions, such as assessors and town highway people, is when these elected officials leave office, they don't get to take their medical benefits with them as retirees. I mean, I realize there has to be, you know, a plan implemented. It has to be a set time. The state requires you for 10 years. The bus garage is for 10 years. The town of Amenia is one of only 3 towns in the county that doesn't have that implemented. But I'd like to see the town board address this in black and white, that we either give it to them or no, we don't give it to you. But I do know for sure that there was 2 other people that would have ran for town highway this year that didn't, because of when they exited, it would cost them a small fortune. I do know that the young lady that took over as our town highway superintendent, who I think is very, very qualified, gave up 900 hours of sick time when she left her position to take this position. So when she leaves, that time is done and gone. It never, ever comes back. As a state worker, I understand where some of that stuff comes. That's one of my things. Even there again on the insurances, part-time people. The handbook says 20-hour people get insurance at the discretion of the board. I'm not going to argue that the discretion of the board, but why should I get it and this one doesn't get it? I think that that should be a hard-written thing also, that if you're going to work X number of hours a week, you're entitled to it for this fee. You know, there's got to be a limit, but it should be a hard-line thing. It shouldn't be that you're my friend and I'm going to get it, and you're not my friend and you're not going to get it. And if you want to examine the books in the town of Amenia, there's people getting it and people that aren't getting it. I mean, I know where some of this stuff is coming from. That's 2 of my things. Last meeting, you mentioned that you were going to have a proposal tonight to change the Board of Assessment Review meeting. As the chairman of the Board of Assessment Review, I'd like to be kept informed of that, because my people actually have set aside the date that we have already set aside to have that meeting. I mean, if we're going to change the date, there has to be some forenotice, and maybe we can't make it. I mean, I'm only limited to certain days that I can make it. So, I mean, I understand it has to be done if you got 2 towns doing it at the same time. And that was where my list was tonight, that I wanted to make the comment. But on the young lady that made the other comment there, and you were involved with the recreation, as a 40-plus year member of the Amenia Fish and Game, any landowner that gives us access for fishing, the New York State fish stocking program will stock that part of the brook. But there literally has to be a sign on it that says fishing permitted. For years, we had 15, 20 spots from Wassaic up through Amenia and the Mill Pond and down through that we could stock. And I mean, I think now we're down to 2. So in the process of that, if you're looking at the recreation, I highly stress that you push that piece of it. And
all we have to do is have a sign and landowner permission.
It has to be a sign there before you can do it. Rich Renia from Dover is actually the chairman of the state, the local county committee part of that. And I mean, if he's notified where these things are, we could stock fish. I mean, they do stock at the 10-mile bridge in Wassaic, there by the train station and stuff. But we used to stock right here at Richie Allen's all the time. But there was a little sign that said fishing permitted. I mean, it has to be open to the public. They will not bring fish in and then have you take the sign down and then, stop everybody from fishing once you've got the fish in there. But there still is a New York State fish stocking program, and I mean, they put out 20, 30,000 fish, in that thing, and they stock here 3 times a year. So, on the recreation end of that, I think, if you keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
I don't know that you were informed or that you know that part of it. That was the only reason I brought it up while I'm here. Well, I am from TV land, and I have not probably missed a board meeting in over 5 years, but I just can't make Thursday night meetings. I happened to take tonight off because I wanted to bring up these points, but I think that's why we're back to the point where I think that's why we're not getting people to run for these offices. Because, they know that, at the end, that, that there's going to be nothing in it for them when they leave. Or, they're going to lose the benefits from where they're coming from. I mean, I think everybody's fully aware of that. The couple people that wanted to run for highway super and wouldn't, and that was, the biggest part of that. So, without going into detail of names and who they were, and that's it. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
Ken, would you like to play the 10 Mile River song? It seems like a good time.
Okay.
If that works for you guys. We have Ken Legner here tonight, who has, he's a member of the Watershed Committee, and he's also created a fabulous song. I don't know if you say created. had it, did you write the lyrics? Can you come up and tell us a little bit about it?
So I'd been participating informally just as a citizen of the town of Northeast with the 10 Mile River Roundtable for a couple of years, and in the run-up to the attempt to get the river designated as a New York State inland waterway, I kind of got it into my head to try to write a song that would celebrate the 10 Mile River, and it was about a 9-month process. I don't know if any of you saw it in the Milton News. There was a very nice article by Katie Lyle in the Milton News about it. And then I did a lot of research on it. Miriam Devine of the Amenia Free Library got some excellent historical books, and then someone at the Pauling Library familiarized me with a book called Up on Preston Mountain by Richard Polemus, and that all helped me to shape the images, and then I set it to music, and then I participate in the Dutchess Community College Jazz Ensemble. So I asked the leader of that if he would I commissioned him to put it together with a vocalist, and so they put together this very nice rendition. So I hope you all enjoyed it. Are you set to do that? Okay, good enough.
Play the...
10 Mile River, Dutchess County's jewel, sourced from the oblong 'neath the Taconics, runs past over and dogtail corners, down steep ravines to the Housatonic. To the east, rain seeps down Taconic escarpment to rivulets in the oblong valley, which swell Millbrook and Indian Lake Creek to the Weebatuck down Sharon Valley. To the west down Silver Mountain and Smithfield Valley, Wassaic Creek cuts through deep hollow stillness, where cedar, waxwing, and crab trout dwell. Oxen haul timbers to Collier's kilns. That charcoal turned Amenia's Johnny Cake ore to 10,000-ton pig iron per annum, wrought at Gridley's furnace to farmers' plowshares and Union cannon. 10 Mile River, Dutchess County's jewel, sourced from the oblong 'neath the Taconics, runs past over and dogtail corners, down steep ravines to the Housatonic. Milk fresh from Holsteins and Guernseys, made spoiled proof at Borden's condensery, from Wassaic down Harlem Valley rails to City Folk and Union Troops dispensary. At South Amenia
coke, wolf, bear, and panther. The 10-mile stream flows tween slopes of sycamore, spruce, and oak to Biscosh below Bull's Bridge, a kayak dancer's dream. From the oblong neath the Taconics, runs past over and dogtail corners, down steep ravines to the Housatonic. 10-mile river, Dutchess County's June.
Hope you enjoyed that.
That was very, very nice.
The choral director at Pauling Central School District, Hannah Geiling, has agreed to take it on, and it's going to be performed at a debut performance at the spring concert at Pauling School on May 31st.
Super.
So,
I think all along this watershed, we should be celebrating, and we're eager on the CAC to do our part. And I'm glad that other sections are also celebrating and doing their part as well. So I really give the group that produced this song, our congratulations, because it is just totally gorgeous.
thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Ken.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
These, by the way, the lyrics, we have lots of them printed up. If you want to stop by Town Hall and pick them up, maybe I'll take some and put them in the library as well. It's a lot of history in there. If you didn't get all the words just listening to the music, the words are delightful. Thank you.
I'm going to put it up on the website, because anybody that reads this, I'm not sure what it sounded like, how it went over the airs, but anybody that has lived here and were to read the lyrics, even if it was in a poem form, you really have set the tone of the community, and you can envision from one spot to the next and how you get there and what you see. So it was really amazing. Really, you can really feel it.
What I'm thinking of doing, if I have the energy to do it, is to take some digital images of some of the spots, and I spoke with Hannah Geiling, maybe do it as kind of a multimedia while they have the performance on May 31st.
That would be lovely on our website
Yeah.
if we can have that liberty of showing that. That would be great.
Okay.
Actually, we have some great photos that we showed at our CAC when we were doing the inventory in past years. A map with photos that pop out when you click on them. So it may be possible to incorporate that, which has already been, that work has already been done. So at our next CAC meeting, I'll see if we can give you a little bit more of that information.
I did also approach the Weebatuck School, but at the time there was no musical director, so there's nobody I could really kind of
Right.
direct it to. But I'd be very pleased if some of the other schools also were interested in taking it into their program, their choral program.
Thank you so much again.
Thanks, Vicki.
Okay, is there any other public comment? Supervisor's report. I attended the County Executive Mark Molinaro's 2018 State of the County address. I wanted to read part of the new initiatives that the county is taking on. We're also going to have it on the website so that everybody is informed. Among the initiatives highlighted in County Executive Molinaro's State of the County address, continued Think Differently initiatives, including the launch of a new website offering simple navigation through the comprehensive array of services available, connecting families to resources, events, information, and each other, a Parks Master Plan survey to help create a roadmap for ensuring a balance of recreational facilities, amenities, and programs throughout the county, now and into the future, with a special emphasis on creating universal access at all county park facilities, buildings, playgrounds, and trails. Breaking through to address the opioid epidemic with services and support, including increasing the availability of recovery coaches, individuals who have turned the demons of addiction into the purpose of personal growth and societal change by helping others walk the long road to recovery, expanding medication-assisted treatment options at the Stabilization Center, and working with primary care providers throughout the county and bringing the BEAT, B-E-A-T model, which pairs police officers trained in crisis intervention with mental health professionals to proactively engage those in need of support and divert them from the criminal justice system into other jurisdictions. Addressing behavioral health needs, including expanding and improving the behavioral health campus at 230 North Road and continuation of a second step school education program which focuses on teaching empathy and communication skills, bullying prevention, problem solving, and substance abuse prevention, and is in conjunction with the Sheriff's Office school resource officers and the Department of Behavioral and Community Health. Dutchess Reads, an initiative focusing on early reading, literacy for those seeking jobs, and English as a second language in partnership with local libraries and literacy advocates, aims to bring literacy programs proven successful in various parts of the county to other underserved communities and support programs offered countywide. Improving facilities to meet the needs of Dutchess County seniors, including announcing the location for the new Office of the Aging Senior Center on Route 9 in the city of Poughkeepsie, the relocated Northern Dutchess Senior Center at the Red Hook Community Center, and expanding the hours of several friendship centers around the county to 5 days a week. The county executive highlighted the work of the Think Dutchess Business Alliance for Business, supporting more than $2.8 billion in major investments for projects under construction or planning stages throughout Dutchess County in every sector from data to healthcare, tourism to agriculture. County Executive Molinaro also focused on acknowledging the more than 16,000 veterans living in Dutchess County by proclaiming 2018 the Year of the Veteran, the ongoing work of the Commission on Human Rights, and the continuation of the Path to Promise initiative, which continues into its second phase this year with the assessment of youth services throughout Dutchess County and the creation of an innovative action plan to ensure every child has equal access to assets that will lead to his or her success. We are the heirs to this county's rich history, stewards of its land and resources, caretakers of the monuments and achievements. We are its hope for a prosperous future, and we are the state of our county. May we find purpose in its making, concluded County Executive Molinaro. County Executive Molinaro's full 2018 State of the County address is available online on www.dutchessny.gov. Residents will have the opportunity to participate in conversations with the 2018 State of the County at several town hall forums over the next few weeks. New Hamburg Fire Station on March 15th at 6, Roosevelt Fire Station, Hyde Park on March 22nd at 6 o'clock, and the Washington Town Hall, 10 Reservoir Road, Millbrook on March 28th at 6 p.m. I'd also like to announce the Weebituck Central School District Town Hall meeting. Please join us for an important discussion regarding school violence and what can we do about it. In attendance will be representatives for the New York State Police, Dutchess County Sheriff, Dutchess County Mental Health, Needham Risk Management, WCSD BOE, and WCSD Administration. It's Wednesday, March 14th, 2018, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. in the Weebituck High School cafeteria. The event will be broadcast on Facebook Live. Light refreshments will be served. Town Clerk report.
Good evening. The minutes of January 5th, the reorganizational meeting were presented at the last meeting. We just needed a quorum for voting purposes. February 15th meeting minutes were also circulated to the board. I share with the rest of the board that The month of February monthly share was remitted to the supervisor in the amount of $486.50. Tax collection without penalty, this is the tentative number. We've collected $4,055,392.67. And I say too, that's the tentative because we do accept postmark. We have a remaining 248 unpaid parcels for this year, so I'm in good faith that the United States Postal Service will get those payments to us in a timely manner. For those that were unable to make their payment during the penalty-free period, can pay here at the Amenia Town Hall through May 31st, but beginning this month there is a late fee, and that's indicated on the bottom of your bill. With regret, I'm presenting to the town board 2 resignations. The first resignation is from Judy Westfald as the town clerk's bank reconciliation clerk, and the second one is Claudia Rinaldi as typist for the supervisor. Judy is effective immediately, and Claudia is effective March 19th of this year.
I'll make a motion that we regretfully accept the resignations of Judy Westfall as the bank rec for the town clerk and Claudia Rinaldi as our typist.
Second.
Amen. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I also present to the town board this evening the volunteer application of Margaret O'Brien. Ms. O'Brien has expressed her interest in being on the Enhancement Committee. And there was a letter that's on the back side of it.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Margaret O'Brien to the Enhancement Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Are you guys ready to move on the minutes at this time? Okay.
I'm ready.
I'll move that we approve the February 15th, 2018 town board minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have to abstain.
Any opposed? Motion carries. January 5th.
Question on that. Apologies. Page 9 of 9, under town board comments. That sentence just sort of cuts off in the middle.
Okay, so do you want to bring it to the next meeting? And you can send me your comment?
Sure.
Okay, so we'll just wait until March 15th?
Sorry about that. though.
No, that's all right. No, that's all right. Before we get into one last action or one other comment that I'm going to involve the attorney with, I just want to take the opportunity to thank all those that came and participated in our 5th annual blood drive. We collected 29 pints of blood, which is really good. I did follow up with the town attorney in regards to a question that I brought before the board at our last meeting regarding the cyclists spending the night at the Beekman Park. We don't have any policies that currently are set in place. We don't have a rec director that oversees it. There's no applications. We don't have any guidelines in this.
My experience basically is that most municipalities don't allow overnight stays in public parks, and there's reasons for them ranging from security to vandalism to just general public safety. Since we don't have a policy in effect, I'm not sure that this is something that we would want to entertain. We also have the issue, public parks typically have close at dusk. So unless there's a set time, which may be like 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock, depending on the time of the year. So you'd have to consider either amending your policy or waiving that closure time in order to accommodate an overnight stay of this kind. And once you do it once, I'll tell you, I'm sure you can understand that once you do it once, you're going to open the door to having to do it in the future. So if it's something that the town really wants to entertain going forward, I think the town should consider enacting a policy and having an actual plan that would accommodate overnight stays in public parks. But until that happens, based upon what we have now and the lack of infrastructure to accommodate that, I would really recommend against having an overnight stay in a public park.
We do currently have close at dusk, open at dawn, right? Do we have the contact information for the leader of that group?
Yep.
Or
You can take this copy again, it was in the mailbox, put it in your mailbox, and
Okay.
They did ask for, you know, if you wanted to recommend an alternative site. I don't know who else could accommodate an overnight stay like that, you know.
Sure, yeah, I have a couple of ideas, so I might reach out if that's all right, and then we'll...
that would be great.
Okay.
Just so that way it was in the minutes, so we're not starting a precedence, and I didn't want to.
So we are not going to allow it then? Is that
I would
correct?
recommend not until you enact a policy to address it comprehensively, and that would apply to any group coming in the future.
So do we need to do a motion, or?
I mean, you could actually make a motion now. I mean, you do have an actual written request before you, so other than either ignoring it or just having, you know, the town clerk just say it was discussed and the request was denied, I think a simple motion now to address that would be sufficient.
Can I just have until the next meeting to see what I can do? And then their request is for May 18th. We have some time. Can we decide whether or not to formally reject?
I know that she's looking for a response, and I did advise her that I've passed it off to the attorney and that I would respond to her tomorrow, only because they need to do advertising.
I will email her tomorrow.
Sounds good, but as a
I will copy
board,
you.
I guess is where we're supporting with the attorneys, what he's presented is that as a board and as a town, that we would not permit it at this time.
Are you thinking, Damien, of alternative sites or using the town park with some?
No, I was just thinking of asking private
Exactly.
landowners
So I
to...
think what we would maybe agree is that the parks are not inappropriate, but that we would be seeking alternative sites on private property, right? That could
Sure.
handle that kind of.
And I can include you on the email response. I'll include the entire board on the email response, and then you can reach out and say, this is what your thought process
Sounds
was.
good.
Okay.
So I think you can make a motion to respectfully deny their request to use the park, and note that individual board members may reach out to them with some alternative solutions that the town board as a board does not have available to them at this time. Something simple to that effect.
So move.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Do you have any Boy Scout or Girl Scout camps up here? And like in Pleasant Valley, we have like Canton teaming that potentially
No.
can
We
accommodate
actually
something
camp
like
there.
this. Do you?
That's where we go.
Okay. So
So Macedonia, I don't know if they are open to camping. They were closed to camping this year, but it's 2 miles from our house. That's a possibility, Macedonia State Park, but I don't know if they'll be open. What's the date again?
May 22nd.
So I think they do open in April, but for whatever reason, they closed the entire year last year. But they do have composting toilets, they have gathering spots, water, potable water.
Great, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the town clerk to advertise for a 20-hour typist position for the supervisor's office at $15.45 an hour.
That's second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And you're done?
I think I'm done.
Okay, just checking. Okay, the building department report. As building permits go, we have issued 10 new building permits totaling $8,433.50 and one renewal of $175. Continuing with certificate of occupancy searches, and for this month, we did 3 searches totaling $525 with 4 fire inspections of $200, bringing the total for the month to $9,333.50. And the total in the building department year-to-date is $20,902. Committee reports?
The CAC met on February 21st, 2018, and we gave the slide presentation that I described earlier of previous stream walks that were done by primarily the HVA in various efforts, and Dave Reagan, our chair, told us what there's 270 square miles in the 10-mile rivershed, and he described what kind of work that they've done in the past to inventory what is the conditions, the existing conditions. And he had a map, and he had photographs, and he had a conditions report, and they had volunteers all trained to make notes such as the riparian zone, is it good or otherwise? They measure the width, they do culvert size, they note fallen trees, trash. It took him a half a day to cover 1 mile in his section, so each person is assigned a section, and the CAC members are enthusiastic about working with HVA to do that again. But it was noted, and I'm glad that it was noted again tonight, that these have been done in the past, so we want to make sure that we are as comprehensive as we can and don't duplicate areas if they haven't changed much. So there was a 2002 assessment of the Weebutuck Creek from the Troutbeck to South Amenia done on May 10th, 2002. 2003, they did another assessment, shoreline survey and action plan of the 10-mile river, and they did a biological stream assessment from 1992 of the 10-mile river done by the DEC, and there was a shoreline survey and report and action plan of the Housatonic River, and a chemical and biological assessment of the Weebutuck Creek in summer 2003. So those are all resources that we looked at and recognize that this is yet just another chapter of this. And then there was an EMC meeting last night that my husband, Mark Doyle, as a member of the CAC, presented to that group. That's a Dutchess County-wide that meets at the Farm and Home Center once a month, and all the CACs come together and talk about issues that are active in their part of the town. So, and of course, we talked about the grant, which we already covered earlier, but with Maria Grace's presentation. That's it.
Okay, under action, we have approval of bid for courtroom floor repair. I'm going to have to table that to the next meeting. Been having some discussion with building inspector, who's also a contractor. The floor in the courtroom originally had carpet, and the carpet was removed, and there was already a maple floor underneath, but when the wood that was added to the floor was oak. So what we have in there is a mishmash of some maple wood and some oak wood. The other problem in there is that the nails in between the boards are so high that it's almost impossible to sand the floor in its current state. So what we were thinking to do, and what I brought here, is we have talked to some flooring companies, and it was recommended that we get vinyl planking. Now, this type of floor, what we would do is put this over the wood floor and then use sheetrock to bring the other part of the floor where we've had to remove the wood because of a water problem in the courtroom to make it even. This type of material has a cork background, so it would, make it very quiet in there. The courtroom is a high traffic area, and also the vinyl would be much easier to clean, more so than the woods in there. I have one estimate. I'm waiting to get 2 more. So, but I wanted to know what the board thought about making a more permanent floor in there and something that's easier to clean and also would be able to handle all the traffic that is through there. In addition to the courtroom, we also have to do the small chamber next to the courtroom where the attorney meets with their clients, because the water that leaked also in that room, we've since removed a sink from that room and cabinets that were in there. So that, and that's where we're currently having black mold remediation done in that courtroom and the chamber room. So to make the floor easier to take care of and meet the needs, the high traffic needs of the courtroom, this is what it was suggested that we put on both floors.
Do we have a sense of how pervasive the mold is under the, given where we're at right now and the fact that what happened only happened because when it was turned into a courtroom however many years ago, nobody lifted up that flap and noticed that there was a drain that was uncovered.
Well, it was nailed down, so I don't think anybody ever looked at it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, would we be better off just ripping the floor out and
Starting
making sure
over.
that there's no mold and making sure there's no other surprises and not spending money on a I think it's a great idea, by the way. I'm not saying that. I'm afraid of the rest of the floor, I guess is
Okay.
what I'm saying. Did we get any sense from Marco over how pervasive?
Yeah, they've taken the amount of the flooring that actual showed mold spores and mold.
They didn't rip it continuously back. They went to what looked where it was. It's a good idea to just take it all out.
I mean, so if we want to take it all out, it's fine, but I just thought going forward to just do away with the wood, since we've got kind of a mishmash of wood in there and the way the nails are and it's difficult to keep clean. We might do something that's not only would be quieter than the air, but also be easier to clean and would, hold up for many, many years. So if you want me to get estimates for the whole room, I can do that.
Because it's going to cost us more money to rip up all of those floors
That's what my guess is.
and then lay down the plywood on top of it and then the new flooring if it's not all necessary.
Right.
for the
That's what I'm
mold.
concerned about, is that, if the mold has been abated.
Well,
and
that's what they're doing now.
The source has been completed, which is capped the drain, so it won't overflow in there again. It shouldn't be a problem, but I'm not an expert, but I would go with the cost in mind of ripping that whole thing out. It's not, I think we should this is a fine solution to me. I know it's a lot cheaper to go with this, and it's very low maintenance in my experience, and it lasts a long time without finishing.
I mean, we will probably get something from the people who are doing the mold and stuff, checking to let us know that they've gotten everything and everything is in good shape.
And lay it down dry, and I don't see any reason why we would have mold again.
Just keep in mind, Victoria forwarded the email from the previous mold remediation company that was hired to clean that room. When was that? 2011 or something?
Yes, but
So-
apparently I mean, the cause of the mold wasn't fully nobody, really looked to see what the reason for the mold was there, which we found out the hard way when we found the uncapped
Right.
pipe that was under the floor in the courtroom.
My only point is if I were doing this in my house, I would want to be sure that there wasn't anything dangerous or harmful in there. So as long as we're sure, and as long as Marco, Michelle, to your point, as long as the mold remediation folks are sure, but just saying we've been down that path once before.
Yeah, we can wait until we get the final report for the mold.
Could we
If you'd like
ask-
to do that.
Could we ask for bids for what the difference in, ripping up?
Yeah, I can get a bid for both.
Yeah, that might be helpful.
Because I mean, I only have one so far, and it's just for, the part to cover it with, but I can get one for, taking out the whole floor, and then we have more to go on. Okay, authorized shared service procurement contract with Dutchess County. Do we have a final contract?
I don't have a final contract with the blanks filled in. So I know that originally the conversation was that at least they wanted to have,
The resolution, right?
well, at least a verbal of your commitment to do that, and then if the contracts weren't available, we could, by March 7th, the commitment to do
Yeah,
it.
because I have the one they sent, but I thought he was going to,
He's working on it.
He's working on it.
I don't have it yet, so we can address this in 2 weeks, I think, when we will have the contract.
yeah, so we should table it till we have the
I
final
would
contract.
table it, I think-
Yeah, I didn't know if it had come already.
Yeah.
I didn't get it. Okay.
But I think you can, I think you already have told them, but if the board wants to confirm your intent to enter into the contract, or at least give the supervisor the authority to tell the county that our intent to do so, and then in 2 weeks, when we have that contract, we can actually formally
So we can
authorize
do
the
that with a
signature.
motion?
Do that with a motion for now, yeah.
Didn't we already make a motion back in the day to submit for all these shared services?
Yes.
You want something additional to
So there is usually a multi-part process. So you express your interest in it, and then when they actually do it, you come back and re-express it, and then when they have something final, you
Sounds
gotta
good.
actually authorize the execution of that.
make a motion to re-express interest to the county to participate in their shared service agreement for procurement?
I second it.
It really is probably a good source to have, and you're not obligated to use it. If you use it, you pay by the hour. So I think you can manage your what you need to get from the county. But I think ultimately it will be beneficial. Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And this is, the next resolution is authorizing the extension of the performance bond for the heating system. The purpose of that is we're trying to get the control system exactly where we want it. Has been an ongoing process with Southeast and the subcontractor they got for that purpose.
Do we know what those guys are here like every weekend, to their credit, and, maybe not to their credit, but do we know what the problem is, or?
No, it's just getting the control system so that it's doing everything it should be doing, as far as in relation to the boiler, when the boiler comes on, when it goes off. So it's very technical. So that the whole idea of the control system is to be able to control the temperature in all the individual rooms. But it also controls when the boiler comes on, how many boilers come on.
And it was specifically identified in a punch list prepared by Morse Associates just from February. And they don't dispute that, so they are, now that they're aware of what some of those issues are in writing, they are working to do that. And the engineer recommended merely extending it because they are working in good faith, the maintenance bond, and they both have agreed, as I say in the resolution, that 6 months is probably more than necessary, but we don't have to come back and extend it again. And if they fulfill their obligations to cure the punch list items, this will expire on its own terms in September 1st, or we can actually release it earlier if the engineer recommends it.
Yeah, Bob Travis of Morris Associates and John Scott have been working closely with them to make sure, it's working exactly as it should.
So this merely extends by 6 months, a 6-month period.
The
bond is
performance bond.
currently in place and maintains that bond for six more months.
Resolution number?
11.
reauthorizing extension of maintenance bond from Southeast Mechanical Corporation regarding town hall heating system replacement contract. Whereas the town of Amenia entered into a contract with Southeast Mechanical Corporation dated June 6, 2016 to perform the heating system replacement at the Amenia Town Hall. Whereas the town consulting engineer, Morris Associates Engineering and Surveying Consultants, determined that the project was substantially complete in late 2016. And following the approval of a change order in January 2017, the project was accepted. Southeast posted the required maintenance bond in the amount of $86,492 for a one-year period commencing March 1st, 2017, which bond number 106-308-923-001 was issued by Travelers Casualty and Surety Company of America. Whereas on February 5th, 2018, Morris Associates issued a maintenance bond punch list to Southeast for items that needed to be addressed prior to the expiration or release of the maintenance bond, which expires on March 1st, 2018. And whereas Southeast has undertaken to complete the punch list item and is working in good faith to do so, but is acknowledged that the work cannot be completed prior to the expiration of the current maintenance bond. Whereas Morris Associates and Southeast have agreed that a 6-month extension of the maintenance bond would be appropriate. Whereas Travelers has issued a rider to the existing maintenance bond effective March 1st, 2018, extending the expiration date to September 1st, 2018. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby consents to the extension of the maintenance bond period for additional 6-month period to expire September 1st, 2018, and accepts the rider to Travelers Bond number 106-308-923-001 and authorizes the town supervisor to execute the rider in substantially the same form as the next tier 2.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Councilwoman Smoji? Yes. Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Supervisor Prodi?
Yes. Solar farms moratorium. I believe you have some experience with that, Scott.
Well, I wasn't aware of the issue until I saw the recent email exchange, and I got the report from the zoning committee that's working on it. In at least 2 of the towns that I represent, we went through a substantial solar code revision or a substantial solar code adoption for the first time. And during the pendency of that period, because of the pressures that are mounting for solar farms, particularly ground-mounted solar farms, most towns that I've experienced with have enacted a moratorium. I'm not entirely certain when the committee started working on this or how long this issue's been discussed, but if you're coming to a point where they're going to be finishing their work and making a recommendation to the board, what you really don't want to have happen is to have someone show up and make an application and be stuck with, something that isn't consistent with all the work that's been going on by that board for an appropriate solar law. So it would be appropriate for you to consider enacting a moratorium. You typically would pick a time for the moratorium to be in effect, so I don't really know when that deliverable is going to happen here and when, after you get that, you'll be able to introduce a law, because it's an amendment to zoning. You've got to go through the whole process of getting that enacted. So, even if they showed up with a law tomorrow, you're probably looking, 3 or 4 months before you finally get it enacted, after the board reviews it, potentially amends it, introduces it, circulates it, and have public hearings and have it come back. So the typical time period, because you can't pick a moratorium period that's so long and onerous that it will, make people walk away from the town. So you typically pick a 6-month period as your initial period. If in fact you adopt your new regulations before then, by its own terms, you would terminate the moratorium. And you usually would put a provision in there that would allow for up to, under the initial version of the local law, up to 2-3-month extensions, which is what we did in Pleasant Valley 2 years ago for this very same reason. It is considered an amendment to your zoning code to enact a moratorium. It does require introduction, circulation, public hearing, referral to county planning and your planning board for advisory and opinion. So even if you were to start it next month, or next meeting even, you're probably looking at, end of April, the May meeting timeframe before you actually enact it. So potentially, you wouldn't have enough time to enact it at your second April meeting. It would be your first May meeting would be the earliest time you could enact it if you were to introduce it at the next board meeting here. So I don't know how much pressure there is in the town for solar, but if you're going through the whole process to do this, there must have been a reason, there must have been some interest expressed by some solar companies out there to begin with.
Well, one came to see me already.
And just for full background, Scott, the reason that this came up, this issue has a bit of history because when the zoning review committee was put into place, at that point we were advised by council to consider a moratorium. We just haven't gotten the process started yet, so when
was that committee formed? And was it just formed for solar law?
No,
January.
It was formed for comprehensive review.
January of this year?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so it's brand new, so it's going to take them some time. So, but since you are seriously considering that, I saw there were some other things on their punch list, but this may be the most significant thing to start with. You could tailor the moratorium only to the solar issues and not to the other issues they're working on. You can enact, if you were doing a comprehensive zoning overhaul, you could consider enacting a moratorium, which is a very difficult
I think
thing
the
to do.
moratorium is going to be on solar farms, not solar altogether, not residential.
Right.
It would be solar farms that,
Correct.
Right, ground-mounted, commercial solar,
right,
nothing for
residential,
personal use, effectively.
right.
And you can limit that based upon the size or whatever. There's a number of ways you can do that.
Okay.
And certainly, any moratorium requires a waiver provision, a waiver process, so that if a homeowner was putting in a larger system than you would consider standard for them, and they're subject to the moratorium, they could always come to this board and get a waiver to allow them to proceed back to the planning board and/or zoning board of appeals for further review. But solar is becoming more and more active out there. I'm involved in on the other side, actually for a neighbor where a solar farm is going in the town of Poughkeepsie. And they had enacted a moratorium and adopted some solar laws a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago as well. So it's probably timely to do it, and it's probably appropriate for you to consider a moratorium, at least for the limited purposes of ground-mounted solar. If you want to proceed, I can do a draft of the moratorium for you to consider, and if it's ready, you can introduce it next month. If it doesn't go far enough, or whatever you think it needs to be tweaked, we can do that. But at least you're working on that, and I think if the building department is aware of the prospect of a moratorium and someone shows up, they should be made aware of that. And you can't stop them from making an application, but you would carve out applications based upon where they are in the process, and you could pick, something that as a fine line is if there's been a secret determination on the application, not just merely the filing of the application, but that has been processed far enough that it isn't a burden to the applicant to have to stop. If they've gone too far, it's hard to stop an applicant. But if they've just merely made an application and it hasn't gotten anywhere yet, then it's appropriate to do so. So you probably want to do it sooner than later if this is something seriously that you're looking at, and it sounds like you are. And I would recommend that just as a matter of basic, land use principles.
Yeah, and again, that echoes the recommendation we got from council at the end of last year. So we are still without pants, as they say. So it would be
okay. Well, that is the risk. You start down, zoning review, and then someone sneaks something in before you do that.
Do you want to make the motion
do we
to
need-
authorize?
Want to authorize me to
Sure, I'll
draft
make a motion to authorize town attorney to draft a moratorium for review the next town board meeting. Sorry, moratorium solar farms.
Second?
I second.
No, you did.
Oh, you second? Oh.
Okay. No, it's okay, doesn't matter.
So what I know you haven't voted on it yet, but what I will try to do is get you a draft early enough before the March 15th meeting so you can review it, and then you'll decide whether you want to introduce that night or if it needs further work. But it's kind of basic, not accepting solar farm applications for ground-mounted solar systems that exceed a certain size.
Sure, and keep in mind that both NYSEG and NYSERDA have some definition of what they consider a solar farm, a commercial farm, as opposed to residential. They also impose limits on size of residential arrays over the historical usage of that property.
Yeah, most of the residential, at least the roof-mounted residential, were
That can be
resolved in the building construction codes that updated a year or so ago.
You can have ground-mounted residential as
Right,
well.
right.
That's permissible.
Yeah.
But this would not apply to roof-mounted residential because that's covered by the,
Or ground-mounted residential. We don't want to
okay.
impede on residential.
I also have information that I'll forward to you. I took a land use program from Pace University. There were 4 meetings that I went to, and one of them was on solar farms. So I can give you the information I got from Pace University.
And that would be good. I will tell you, in Pleasant Valley, it covered all ground-mounted, even residential. But if you want to,
I don't think that was the intent
Okay.
of I think it was really just, we don't want to prohibit somebody who has a legitimate residential need who wants to put up solar panels but doesn't have good, sight lines. The last thing is the zoning review committee's mandate. They are supposed to deliver a report within a year, right?
Oh, I think they're pretty
Shortly, yeah. No, we'll be getting it sooner.
Sooner than?
Yeah.
Okay.
All in
So-
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Forget.
Okay, other matters. I have estimates for the repair of the ceiling in my office and other miscellaneous repairs. We removed the small water fountains we had in the town hall for the children because they were leaking and had other problems. So they've been removed, so we need to repair the wall where they've been removed. I have 3 estimates. What we're going to do in my, go ahead.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
What we were going to do in my office, rather than replace all the plaster that has come down, is put sheetrock up
Yeah.
and cover the ceiling that way.
That is
Go
a
ahead.
very good idea.
What question?
This, on the Northern Dutchess estimate, what is this line item for? The addition there?
The 2385,
Yeah.
that's on the second page.
Second page.
I don't know why it wasn't included on the first page, but
I mean,
A different contractor. It's going under him, but it's a different person that's going to perform it.
yeah. What?
It looks like a different person's.
You're right.
It's under his, but it's a different person going to perform that task.
It's just hard to compare because I don't really know what's going on with this one bid, but
They're all the bids are for the same work. Because my ceiling, the drinking fountains, auditorium walls, where we put the cable in for the security cameras, and then the art room, that's the room that the additional he has on for that.
art room? We have an art room?
It was the art room.
Kind of like there's a gym here too,
I know
Damien.
where the gym is.
The art room, when we were a school, is downstairs, currently classroom.
We have a downstairs?
We have it downstairs.
Next to the boiler room. Boy, I need to take you on a tour.
I've been asking for,
Anybody needs a
just so,
tour,
I've been
you
asking
need
for a
your town
tour for
hall.
2 years, and I have not gotten a tour yet. so.
Yep, well, get you toured.
Does
are you
anybody
doing
know 3M Paintings and Restoration, Jeffrey
Yes.
Dunleavy? So they are,
He's from Millertown.
well, I make a motion that we accept the low bid of $3,300 for 3M Paintings and Restoration, I guess is the name of the company.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nobody said aye, but.
Public comment?
Well, before you do that,
Yes.
so while we're under other business or other matters, so as was brought up earlier, I am preparing to do two things. Once the assessor local law is actually filed, I expect that it has been filed, but we haven't gotten a receipt back yet.
All I've gotten is the green certified acknowledging receipt of.
So we usually get a letter from them, stating that it was filed on this day. So once we have that, as I told you last week, there's two things we're going to do. Number one is we're going to appoint an assessor effective April 6th to fill the unexpired term of an appointed assessor, which goes until September 30th, 2019. But the local law that we have to introduce is going to be to change the grievance day. And I can tell you that based upon my conversations with the current acting assessor, who would be the intended appointee for the appointed position, he is requesting that grievance day be on Thursday in lieu of Tuesday or Wednesday. So I don't know if, based upon what was said today, we should communicate that with the board before we introduce the local law, or just wait to get comment back after we introduce it. But I would expect at this point in time, we're going to appoint the assessor and introduce the local law on March 15th. And the draft of the local law that I have now does have the first Thursday after the first Tuesday, which is what the actual current, the fourth Tuesday, first Thursday after fourth Tuesday. So that's what it's going to be suggesting at this point in time. And that's based upon Chris Bjork's availability.
Okay, do you want to have a conversation with Chris then?
I'll have a conversation with Chris.
About the Board of Assessment review?
Right, but do we want to reach out to the board as a board or to the chairman and say, this is what we're proposing, tell us now if that's a problem before we introduce this law?
Okay,
Would that be appropriate?
yes.
Okay.
And by the way, kudos on the organization of the packets lately. I don't know who's doing it, but
Claudia?
Claudia.
it's great.
She went old school on us.
Well, she worked here for 10 years,
It's really great.
way back when.
Duly noted.
Thank you, Claudia.
So that was my other matters. You can go back to public comment now.
Town board comments?
Well, you get public comment first.
Yeah.
I know.
I cut off public comment, so.
I don't think there is any public comment. So we're town board comments.
Left to right?
Yeah, okay. For everybody out there, we know the Amenia senior trips are all scheduled, and you should, those whose addresses I have, you've gotten a flyer on. One of the things is the Easter egg hunt is going to be on Saturday, March 17th, and it's here at the town hall, and it starts at 10 o'clock. And I'm going to apologize to you personally, because I wanted to send you an email, but I didn't push the right buttons. So, I just wanted you to know that there's a lady in the office here, in the room here, very nice lady. So I just also wanted to say the Easter eggs are going to be filled once again by the seniors at Tally Ho, and that'll be done next Wednesday at Tally Ho, our clubhouse. So that's March 7th, and it will be at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. So if any other Amenia seniors wanted to come down, you know where we are, and join us at that time to fill the eggs. We have 1,000 eggs. So come on down and have a good time with us. Christine Ford is going to be bringing some students to help us with the Easter egg hunt, setting up the eggs, putting them out, and then cleaning up and storing things once again. And I think it's going to be a great time if you all can come on out to it. It starts our season off here in the town of Amenia.
3 quick notes. Victoria, thank you for forwarding the apocalyptic email from the governor about the snowfall that's coming. Be safe. I've read everything from 2 to 8 inches, but it's supposed to start tonight. Second thing was I had a constituent reach out to me regarding the sidewalks in Wassaic, and 2 matters relating to that. One is that there have been habitual parkers on the sidewalks, which when it does snow, it makes it impossible to plow those sidewalks, and we as a town are paying somebody to plow those. So please don't park on the sidewalks, but especially don't do that if it's about to snow like it is tonight. And that same constituent also brought up that a number of the trees on the other side of the sidewalk there, right on Old 22, when you come into the intersection of Firehouse Road, some of them are scarred. Some of them, show evidence of being hit by cars. It's difficult to sort of slow down, I guess, if it's icy and you're going a little too fast there. And this gentleman's idea, which I thought was really good, was to maybe see if we could get after the county to put up some guardrails there, protecting the sidewalk, protecting people from parking there, and also protecting pedestrians from any stray cars. So I will reach out to our highway supervisor and see if she can help coordinate some communication with the county. Thank you to that gentleman for submitting that great idea. And then the last thing was just I wanted to voice my disappointment and a little frustration with WSP. We had asked them for regular monthly updates that we could present during these town board meetings on the trail to the train. I know they do provide you with information all the time, and you do summarize that in email, but their job is to project manage this, and I would like it if they were able to stand by that commitment and provide that monthly report moving forward. And if you could relay that to Dan, that would be great.
Yeah, I'll be having a conference call with them.
Great.
Because I need some information from him for the the entry permit we need to do.
There is good progress happening. We're going to cut trees, right?
Yeah, we have to cut trees.
So it's moving forward. I just wanted the engineering firm in charge of that project to put together a monthly report so that we could present that to the public here at the town board meeting. And we did not get that this month, or last month, I should say. So.
Yeah, I was happy that someone in Metro North actually reached out to me and said, I can help you.
Yep.
And he's going to help us get it through so that we can get the trees down before the deadline, March 31st.
I would piggyback on to Damien's idea of approaching our new town highway superintendent to look at a guardrail, not only in Wassaic, but if you go again on another county road on Kent Road, if you turn, where the intersection of South Amenia Road and Kent Road, and go in less than a quarter of a mile, I think it's maybe like 21 Kent Road, I can get you the exact address, but there, when the county resurfaced areas along there, they left this ridiculous deep coffin-shaped ditch that's, you have the white line and then maybe 6 inches, and then this incredible deep ditch that's a culvert. They cleaned out the culverts, which, are designed to keep the water off the road, and just made it so deep and so narrow. It's literally about 6 feet, 8 feet long, and 3 feet wide, and about 6 feet down. So, I mean, if you rolled off the edge, you would be in big trouble. Half your car would disappear.
I had somebody mention another
really
ditch
bad.
like that on Bog Hollow to me recently, that they were
So drive along that road, have them drive. Somehow we've got to get the county to say, I don't know what they need to do, put stones in there or something, but a kid could fall in there and probably not get out. So it's really weird how they did it, but I think, let me just leave it at that. I'll send you the address of the person whose house it's most dramatic in their front yard. And they asked me to look into it, and I'm just now remembering that, so I apologize. Route 44 is a mess but that's a state road. From Amenia to Millbrook, you have to drive 30 miles an hour, and it's usually like that for us, but it just keeps getting worse and worse.
They were working on it this week when I came back from Poughkeepsie.
But they didn't do anything that I can see. I know, I got behind them, and they were working on it, but it didn't really, but I mean...
Yeah, they put
Hope
stone
springs
down.
eternal. Well, okay, it's still a mess.
So
I mean,
called
they
the
didn't do
county.
all of it, but they did some of it.
That's a state road.
I called the state.
Okay.
And after I received umpteen calls and had to explain
Right.
State Route 22, State Route 343, and State Route 44. So finally it got to the point where, listen, I mean, we have town residents that have blown tires. Now there's a concern of emergency vehicles and et cetera driving.
It's
so the
dangerous.
response that I got from the gentleman, who I do have his name, but I'm not going to release it on the air, he said to me to call my constituents and let them know that we need more funding. Now, he told me that they've laid down 5 ton of cold patch, and they are working at every chance that they can get when the weather is appropriate, and that they are coming out. Literally, the next day they were out, and they started working on a portion of it going from really Millbrook School Road out. So they are working on it. They are aware of it. You can call the 1-800 potholes. You can call out to your DOT located in Poughkeepsie, and then you can call all your representatives and let them know the urgency and the road conditions, because I made it clear from my multiple hats on. I was noticing them.
Yeah.
Well,
It's bad. There are people
It's
driving
bad.
in the middle of the road to
I
avoid
know.
the...
Well,
You don't
the-
really want to drive in the
We
potholes.
want to support our highway when they're out there working. Please use caution, slow down, let them fix the roads, don't speed by them, but
Yeah, they were working
They
on
are
part of
aware.
it this week. And they've heard from a lot of places. They've heard from elected officials, because I know Senator Serino has talked to them about it, too.
All right, on a happier note, there is really fun volleyball happening at the Weebatuck High School gym, or the middle school gym, I'm not sure.
Middle school gym.
Middle school gym, and it's on Tuesdays from 6 to 9, and I will give you some contact information on the website and on the, for Mike Flint to put on the television. It's Sue Doherty, and you just have to be, graduated from high school or the equivalent, like 18 years or whatever. It's adult volleyball, co-ed. There are no, no competitive games, but we do play competitive. I've played one time, so I feel like I'm part of it. But it's a lot of fun and a good exercise, and there's some really good players, and there's, like me, people who haven't played since high school, but we're working on it. So Tuesday night, 6 to 9 in the gym. It's a lot of fun. There's a kiosk in the Beekman Park that I noticed needs to be kind of
Sean's going to fix
fixed.
it.
Oh, good.
That was part of the vandalism.
Can I just ask that we don't lock it, because when we're, it was a great idea, the plexiglass was a great idea, but if they just leave off the plexiglass and let us post, it's covered with a roof. And when you
Well-
have something to post, you got to find somebody with a lock and key, and by
That
that
was a
time
Boy
the
Scout
event is
project.
over. I know. So I would just ask that when we fix it, simply clean up the edges and leave it open.
Leave it
because
open.
it's completely...
That's something the Eagle Scouts did for us.
Yeah,
It was a project, and that's how they did it.
right. But I
But
think-
Sean is going to be fixing it.
Can you let him know that I prefer it not be a locked situation?
Okay.
Okay,
But that's the way they originally built it.
right. It's just really hard for those of us who want to post things on it to find somebody with a key. And I work here, so I don't know how anybody else would find that out. Curtains track, okay, so I'm going to try and write for another grant for the dance program starting, I think the Northeast Dutchess grant application is due April 1. Does anybody have any reason why I can't write for this grant, which I've written for quite a while?
No, go ahead and do it.
Okay, so we're going to be looking to do some more work on the stage and put on a
Yeah, John
program.
Scott actually had somebody look at the curtain, and that's the in fact, it was a professional person, so
Yeah.
that was the recommendation for the curtain.
And I will put in for the curtain and for the curtain track that he recommends and see if we get it funded.
Okay.
Enhancement Committee is going to meet on Tuesday, March 20th at 5:30 here in this room.
Upstairs.
Upstairs in the,
Planning
directly
board room.
above us, yeah.
We have an upstairs? We have an upstairs.
There's an upstairs.
We have a basement, we
music
have a
on that
first
note.
floor, and we have
Sorry.
a second floor.
Moving on.
It's just cold, it's just,
So if people have also noticed, there's a lot of trash alongside the road, particularly Route 22, areas, I know you know in your neighborhood where the trash is most obvious right about now. I'm looking to do a cleanup day, probably Saturday, April 21st, which I know is the same day as Beekman Park's, the opening day for baseball, but it also coincides with Earth Day. But if anybody has any better ideas for timing on groups, if they want to contact me or contact the town clerk, we'll have contractor bags and assist, and I can help negotiate with the transfer station with Welsh. They usually let us bring roadside trash for free if they have advance notice. So if you just let me know ahead of time, we can either we can do both. We can provide you with trash bags, and B, we can work with getting your trash in for free. I think that's it.
I have one.
One thing.
Go ahead.
Troutbeck, I had a brunch there, and I just want to say it was really delightful to be back in that historic inn. It's beautifully, tastefully, historically done. It's not a fortune at all. It's a lovely, lovely place to have brunch, and I'm pleased to have that place back and available. You have to go online and make your reservations online. I think it's open table. So go on the website and make your reservations.
just one last announcement, which should have been part of my report, and I apologize. It's March 1st. We've gotten into the first 2 months of the year, and I'd like to remind all of our boards that education's required. So our zoning board and our planning board, no matter what your profession is, you're required 4 hours of training. Our Board of Assessment does it, our magistrates do it, and now our court clerks are required. So mandatory training, get your certificates in so I can, keep record of those. I know that we're not all in compliance, and so if anybody has any missing training that was failed to be turned in on or before December 31st, I'd be gracious to receive it and present the board with an updated report. Sorry, I just...
No, that's
education.
okay. Just want to make sure everybody's said everything they want to say. Okay, I'd make a motion to go into executive session, and the town clerk is excused.
Second.
Executive session with the town board, the town attorney, and Michael Chamberlain.
Second.
That's
Pursuant.
Public Officers Law, Section 105, 1F.
See, I already had it.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?